Greetings and welcome to Flanigan's Ecologic. I am your host, Ted Flanigan, and this week I've got Nikita Khandheria on the phone. She is the founder and the CEO of Eria Hospitality. So today we're digging into hospitality and sustainability. Nikita, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited to tickle a side of my brain I don't get to that often and talk about sustainability.
Very good. And are you at one of your facilities now up in Sausalito?
No, I'm in the Marina one. I love Sausalito, but I will say that Sausalito doesn't have this much energy in the space all the time.
I should have guessed that. There goes a big truck that doesn't look like Sausalito, does it?
No, Sausalito's much too quaint.
Yeah, it's a beautiful place. Well, before we dig in on the various venues, can you just describe your business model? It seems to me that you actually own or you lease these facilities now, so that you've got sort of free range to do as you want.
Yeah. So whenever anyone asks me what I do, it is such a long story short, but I say that my whole entire job is to make people's life more fun, right? So whether you're planning a birthday party, anniversary, wedding, my team will come in and we will be like, Ted, what do you like and how can we make it a one-time experience, right? So I had a bride that I just hot air ballooned onto our deck in Sausalito, like on the water for her grand entrance. We just did a C-suite group and we did like a fire breathing class for them. And they were literally like breathing fire out here. So we handle events from start to finish, and a lot of our clients will kind of stay on and become lifelong contract clients. So we'll also do their travel planning, we'll do their birthdays, anniversaries, that sort of thing. And then we also do a lot of conferences and corporate events. But all in all, our job is to make life as fun as you can make it. And I think that that's why we have to own the venues. Because if I went to somebody else and I went, I want to paint your place green for Google, I think that we would reach some level. People might not be so keen on it. And so that's why we started buying up the venues. And our goal is to just be the one-stop shop, right? If you want to do something amazing, I want you to think of Aria, and I want us to be the place that does everything for you.
You know, it sounds so challenging. Your job sounds very challenging, but it sounds, like you said, it's a lot of fun. You're creating these impossible to forget events, right? As you put in some of your marketing materials.
It says that everywhere. We've gotten so obsessed with branding. It says Aria, impossible to forget, on every single side of me, facing outwards. But yeah.
Well, how did it come about? How did you decide to do that?
Well, so I got funding when I was younger for a restaurant concept. And as I was telling you, I personally am not too big a foodie. I'm not a big drink person. I love experience though. I love trying something new. And from the time that I was a kid, I was like, it is crazy that you only get to live once. I want to feel everything that I can possibly feel. I want to experience everything I can experience. And I want to learn everything that there is to learn. And so I think that fuels a lot of my curiosity, but a lot of my excitement towards like, I want to go skydiving once. I want to do every single thing once, because you'll never get to again. And so after we had the restaurant, I exited another company that I had started. And then we kind of rolled that into another company I acquired, eventually got the sum to be able to buy out my investors, and had done an event for Anthropic while we were a restaurant. Adored it. I mean, now that I look back at it, it was just like a glorified dinner. It wasn't quite an event, but at the time I was blown away. I was like, this is the best experience. I want to do this for the rest of my life. And so that's kind of where that excitement turned into, what if we just do events, and then realizing the benefit that we had having the venue and using that to kind of build out our business plan moving forward.
That is fantastic. Now, when I think about hospitality and sustainability, I kind of think there isn't a match there. I always think that hospitality, you sort of go for it. You have an air conditioner in your room and people leave their lights on and they're just sort of going through, it's decadent. It can be decadent in many ways. So talk a little bit about how sustainability has slipped into your operations.
I think that I'm trying to think of the nicest way to say this, because this is not going to sound very nice as I say it, but we could break it apart after. But I think that when you start to do a very high volume of something, you then have the ability to look at it from a higher point. And you're like, well, now that I have so much influence over something, I want to make sure that I'm putting my best foot forward, right?
Yeah.
And so in Sausalito, we did 52 events last month. When you're doing 52 events in a month in one location, you're looking at it from this high angle, and we were just wasting, and we were just throwing, and we were just doing so much production of waste that I was like, I want to be the best, most efficient company. And in order to do that, I need to also think about priorities, right? And so that's sort of where the idea of sustainability came in, where like if I was doing one-off events, I don't think that I would have even cared, because you wouldn't have noticed the waste that you're producing. But it was when you're doing 52 events, it just feels so wasteful, not just to the environment, but also like I'm not doing a service to my clients, because I'm producing so much temporary material that they're spending money for, and it didn't feel worth it on my client side, and it didn't feel worth it on the environment side. And so I think that sort of opened up the conversation of like, if we're doing 52 of these and there is something that we can do to create a blanket way to be sustainable across all of them, why wouldn't we do it?
Yeah. Now, before I ask you about how you handle the waste, I must say you look too calm and cool and collected to have done 52 events last month. That sounds like a huge lift.
I have a lot of team, and I'm very fortunate that from a very young age, I started hiring. And so I was able to really figure out what personalities work really well with me, right? I hired my first employee when I was 13. And so I grew up working with other people and working with having a team. So I was from a very, like, it's like when you learn a language, right? It's really hard when you're older to start thinking in that language. But I think that because I started hiring from a very young age, I got so used to the idea of like, whatever I'm doing today, I need to think about how do I build out a system as I learn to do it so that I can hand it over to someone in the future, because that was just the way that my brain had to work, because I started it from such a young age. And so now I would say my team is such a good extension of me. If you met someone from my team, you probably, if we were emailing, let me say, put it this way. If we were emailing, you wouldn't be able to tell the difference between me and someone on my team, because our enthusiasm levels are the same. We use the same amount of exclamation points. Like, it is so much identical that if you couldn't see us or hear us, you wouldn't know that we were different.
Oh, that's really fantastic. Well, I don't want to leave the waste thing. So talk about that. I mean, are we talking about paper plates? Are we talking about excess food? What were you reeling in the waste side?
So signage is a big thing, right?
Oh,
As you
signage.
can tell, we are so obsessed with branding that anytime we would do a corporate event, we would buy them marquee letters. We would get those like A-frames. We would get stanchions. We would get so much, so that, I mean, our rule for any corporate event we ever did was, if you are doing a corporate event, every single screen or photo that anyone takes should have some way for people to know who you are, what you do, and feel your ethos, right? And that's what we've done in this space. Any photo that you take anywhere, like we have TVs all over that have our logo. We have lighting that's always in our color scheme. We have projections everywhere. Anytime we do our own events or anyone else's events that are corporate, that'll be a big thing. Before we installed projection and TVs and decals, it used to be a very temporary sort of situation, right? We would get, like I said, an A-frame. We would get a stanchion. We would get cardboard signs. We would get, logos, marquee letters, a lot of which is paper and cardboard product that you don't necessarily need to do, but we needed to do because we wanted to make sure that we were able to brand the space for the person coming in.
Oh, that's really good. What about the food side? Are you finding that your clients want organic foods or special foods like that?
We have found that our clients want what our clients want. So, I mean, 2 weeks ago, I had a client whose mom cooked for her wedding. Her mom literally was sat in the seat giving her away, and then ran to the kitchen and was the one cooking the entire meal. So we are very flexible with our clients. And this is one of the things that I told you, right? So being a luxury company, there is a really important line to be drawn where you want to give the client everything that they want, and you want to say yes to everything that they want. And so it's about how can you give them alternatives that don't make them compromise, but are almost better, right? Like having a projection with your name is better than having a small little sign, right? So how can you come up with glorified versions that are more sustainable. So when it comes into the food, we'll always provide those options, but we'll never force any of our clients to offer a certain sort of thing. We have full commercial kitchens in all of our locations, but we don't handle any food service internally. We bring in caterers, and all of the preferred vendors that we suggest to clients have very similar sustainability rules as us, right? So they don't order in bulk and then bring these big cartons that they're going to then throw, right? They're going to farmers markets, right? And it works really well because that's the sustainable way to do it, and that is also the luxury way of doing it, where everything is handpicked and it's not as wasteful.
Oh, that sounds really great. So let's back all the way up. You said you hired your first person at age 13. Where did you grow up? I know you went to school. I see that you were at University of St. Andrews, which is in Scotland, and you were studying economics and math. So where'd you grow up? What's your background? Where'd you get this Where'd you get this crazy motivation?
I was born in Madera, but moved to India when I was relatively young. I think it was 4 or 5. And then I moved back to California when I was 15, and then moved to St. Andrews when I was 18 for university.
Golly. So what were you doing at age 13? What was that?
I built 2 nonprofit clinics. So my I was driving myself very young in India. A lot of people do. I don't know if I'm supposed to be saying that now that I'm thinking about it, because it's not anyway, I was in a car. My car broke down in one of these villages, and they couldn't tell the difference between me and a doctor. So a lot of the questions they were asking me were probably not appropriate for me to know as a 13-year-old middle school kid. But they were like, oh my gosh, you're college educated. Oh my gosh, you can answer so many questions for us, just because they saw the wealth status, obviously. Like I was in a private school uniform and all of those different elements kind of playing together. And this one lady, Ronnie, comes up to me and she was like, when my husband touches me, I'm scared, and, I need to figure out some form of medication that I can get to fix this. And my 13-year-old heart, oh my God, I was like, you want medication because when your husband rapes you, you're not safe and you don't feel good about it. I mean, it shattered my heart. And so I spent a lot more time in the villages, wrote a couple of papers, sold bylines on them, funded a clinic, and that's when I hired my first set of team.
Boy, that's quite a story. So you had in your youth, you had California, India, and then Scotland, right?
Yes.
And how did Scotland factor into your life and your development? And
I mean, from like a bird's eye view, I always say that it's really interesting to have been able to experience and gather things from everywhere. So whenever we're planning, I think I try my best to bring in Asian hospitality, because nobody knows hospitality like Asia. The way that you get treated in hotels and just it's a different world. I try and take European style and efficiency to a degree. I think the way that Europeans set up, like even something as simple as like laundry, they just do everything at a much smaller and more purposeful way sometimes.
Deliberate.
Yeah, it's less abundant, right? I think there's a lot more purposeful scarcity, let's say. That's maybe the more eloquent way of saying it. And then the American drive. I think the ability to genuinely, from the bottom of my heart, believe that I can achieve anything. Right? If you and I talking right now decided that I wanted to be in the WNBA, I'm 5'2", never played basketball. I still believe it's possible. Like, not to take away from anyone that does it, because I know it's a lot of work, but I genuinely, from the bottom of my heart, believe I would go to a country, and I don't know if you've heard, they could like break your knees to be able to give you a couple more inches of growth, right? By like hurting your current bone structure. I would go do that, get 3-4 more inches, and then I would hire the best trainer that there is, and I would work my ass off, pardon my French, and I genuinely believe it's possible, right? And I don't necessarily mean that specifically, but from a very young age, I think that I've been a big believer in, if you're willing to work hard enough for something, the world is literally your oyster and anything is possible. And I think that's a very American mentality, or at least in my mind, it's an American mentality.
Yeah. Now my gal is 5'2", and she also would have a surgery tomorrow to get a few more inches. But anyway, Now, what were your parents I'm guessing your parents or your family was very influential in this drive that you've gotten this self confidence to tackle the
um,
world.
I think it's entirely them. So my mom is
You
like
do,
my best friend till this date. And I think that they did a really good job of not being enablers and being strict parents while still being my friend. So it's interesting because I don't know how well known this is, but I was born math dyslexic. And by the time I was 12, I went to China for Math Olympics to represent my country and my school. The reason that I was able to do that was because when my parents found out I was math dyslexic, I did abacus, Kumon, additional math, and I spent my entire 5 years probably doing more math than people do in their whole life. Because my parents said it's not okay. Just
yeah,
because you're born with a disadvantage does not mean that you need to own that disadvantage as part of your character. And I think that experience, I hated my parents for it at the time, obviously, but it genuinely gave me the belief that if someone can go from being math dyslexic to being the best, to be able to represent and go out there
yeah,
and compete, the world is literally anything is possible, right? Like
yeah,
anything is possible if that's possible. And so I think that whether it's naive or not, it's just the mentality that I've had that if you're willing to put in the work and you're willing to bring in the right resources, right? Like I don't think I can dream up mechanical engineering, but if I bring in the right mechanical engineers and I bring in the right aerodynamics and I bring in the right designers, I can hot air balloon a woman to a deck for her wedding. I
yeah,
can.
yeah.
I just need to be willing to put in the hours.
Boy, hats off to your parents.
Mhm.
Hats off to your
Very, very
parents.
lucky, right? And then to be able to not hate them for that and to come to a point that they're your best friends despite them having put all of that on you. I think they did a great job. I don't think
Yeah,
there's a lot of parents that can have that type of pride in their skill set on
yeah.
parenting.
That's really great. Now, before you founded Aria Hospitality, you had another business, right? You called it a CPG company, consumer packaged
Consumer
goods. Is that
packaged
right?
goods.
And
Yes.
what was that?
So we bought a 30-year-old company called Judy's Breadsticks. They were at the
Oh, that's the
time
breadsticks.
a loss leading company. They were in a lot of stores, but they weren't efficient in their production or delivery. So they actually owned the logistics portion. They didn't work with distributors. They did self distribution. We produced in house, and then we were in Molly Stone's, Whole Foods, Safeway. We expanded the SKUs to 250 SKUs and got two national contracts for the company, and then flipped and sold it.
Wow. And that was at age 21.
I think we exited. Yeah, no, you're right. We exited
And
when I
what
was
it,
20.
and I presume your parents said, "Good job, Nikita."
No, they said, why didn't you stick with it longer? I did not like manufacturing personally. It didn't tickle my brain. It wasn't
Yeah,
something that right now I go to bed and my toes are tingling because I'm thinking about my day tomorrow and
yeah,
I'm so excited. I'm like a preschooler. It didn't do that for me. And so it was a really good learning experience, but I was really ready to exit. And so everyone was like, you should stay in this. You've seen such growth. I mean, we exited. I'm not allowed to, necessarily talk about what we exited for, but we had two $10 million contracts. So in a year, we
yeah,
went from losing $60,000 to having two $10 million contracts and exiting at, a comp value. Everyone
yeah.
was like, you stick to it for a couple more years. This company could, you could retire. You could never have to work and you'd be done.
But
And
you're following your heart. You're following your heart or your passion, right? And then I presume you use some of that or all of that cash to start buying these venues.
yeah, so I mean, okay, so I was very fortunate with the exit, and so I was able to diversify a little bit, and we did buy land in a couple of different countries, and then I did also get to buy out my investors in the Sausalito project, and then we did also invest in a couple of other companies. So it did more than that for us, for
Yeah.
sure.
Well, congratulations. So when you started with Aria, um, and I think you started with one venue in Sausalito, right?
Yes.
And so that was a big step and Probably some people said, "Oh, you're crazy. You're going into a very risky business. Sausalito's not a cheap place to buy real estate, commercial downtown real estate."
Not at all.
Talk about that first venue.
Um, so I think that for me, once I exited the CPG company, I wanted to buy out my investors on the restaurant side because the restaurant just didn't do it for me either. I'm not a foodie. I eat like steak and eggs every day for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. Like I'm the most boring person when it comes to it. And like I told you, I had done that one event and then I actually had done a wedding. So we had done that event, then we got a bunch. We were really lucky. Anthropics. There was a lady that worked with Anthropic on helping produce this event, who was also Tara Vega. She was also a task force member for Google. And so she was able to send us a lot of leads following that because she was really happy with the way we produced. And so we stayed really busy, even as a restaurant producing events. And then I took the big leap when a woman trusted me to put together her whole entire wedding. It was a $300,000 wedding, my first wedding I've ever done. I knew this is what I wanted to do. And I felt as though I could do it. I was like, if I'm willing to work hard enough and get creative enough, I will find a way to make it work.
Now,
And so I took
are you just an Excel person? Just have list after list of things that need to get done in a certain sequence?
Sort of. I wish that I was able to be that organized. I think my brain, I was telling somebody, I think that I'm giving myself like an attention problem where I just have so much going on at all times that I will, like, if I'm talking to someone and I'm getting better about being present, but I will be thinking 6 different things and I'll just have a sheet of paper and I'll be writing like the most random things down. And I'll be like, so you and I'll be talking about like sustainability. And my thought will be, oh, we have these like pillars at the venue and they're still brown. I think we should paint them white. And I'll just write paint pillars white. And so I wish that I could be organized with like a proper to-do list, but I think that I have my most productive time when I'm in the hustle bustle and I'm just brainstorming and my brain is just like busy with white noise that it's able to think on the back end about strange things that it wouldn't otherwise.
Well, you're doing good. That's for sure. Some of your clients are Johnson & Johnson, Salesforce. You mentioned Google, high net worth families. So you're obviously not letting anybody down if you keep growing. What have you done? Have you done anything sustainable to the venues themselves?
I think spending the amount of money that we did on getting the projection set up and getting all of the lighting done such that instead of people bringing in paper replicas of their signatures and their logos, we're now able to project it. And so it saves that hassle. That would probably be the biggest thing that I think we've saved in terms of resources. Obviously, we also we use like reusable water for everything. So we bought a filtration system that is able to like filter the bottle and then seal it. And then after somebody drinks it, you can reuse that bottle and then seal it again.
Right. Now, no solar panels yet, I take it, on the rooftops.
Unfortunately not. So we don't own the Sausalito property. So our landlord there, he's a great guy, but it's up to him. Hint, hint. We do have solar panels on our Corte Madera property, which we do own. We don't in the marina because we don't own that one either.
Yeah.
So the property we do own, we do have solar panels.
I mean, I take it these are high-end events, so they're bringing in their own plates, right? And glasses and silverware.
No, so we actually transitioned into having it in-house, and we either will require that they use what we have in-house, or we will rent for them, but we don't believe in paper plates. We don't do any plastic cutlery. We don't do any plastic napkins either, or paper napkins. We don't do any straws at the bar. We did try for a little bit to do these paper straws that are more sustainable. And I was like, you know what? These are grown-ups. They don't need straws, so we don't do any straws. And the paper straws were horrible. They would just like dissolve in the water.
Oh, I know. You're kind of eating this sort of waxy sort of paper.
Yeah, it was horrible.
I'm with you. We don't need straws. Well, what would you say has been your biggest challenge in operations so far?
I think that demand doesn't usually grow faster than supply. And I think that in our case, I mean, in a service industry, usually you're ready to go and then you're like going out and finding clients. For
Yeah.
us, I think the biggest thing has been figuring out our priorities, because I think once we work with someone, they're like, we want you to do everything for us, right? And so it's like, how do you choose which direction to go in? So, for example, I had a client recently that came in for a deep tech week. We did their event here, and they were like, we want you to be our in-house producer for all our events. We're based out
Hmm.
of LA. Can you build out a branch here?
Yeah.
Right. And it's a very, very attractive offer. And as you can tell, I'm so excited about everything that I do that I'm like, I would love to, but then it's taking a step back and saying, well, if I expand into LA this year, then I will not have the bandwidth to also do the DC conference that we're thinking of. And so weighing out what takes us closer to, our 50-year goal has sometimes been the hardest part for me,
Yeah.
where I want to say yes to everything. And our whole slogan before Impossible to Forget was, we never say no. And it feels so off
We've never
brand.
seen it. Yeah.
It feels so off brand to say, no, I'm sorry, we can't do this. And so I've definitely found the biggest operational challenge is for me to be able to make decisions and
Yeah.
figure out which one will make us the company we want to be 50 years from now.
Well, what do you want to be 50 years from now? First off, I applaud you. And that sounds very challenging. I'm one of those never say no to anybody kind of people because I want to make everybody happy and I think I can do everything. But you sound very rational. But what is your 50-year plan? I mean, do you want to have these kinds of services around the country, around the globe, and into the universe? You want to be the first hospitality person on Mars? What's your goal?
Well, now you just gave me a new one. First hospitality person on Mars. I love that. I think that when I was a kid, I think I was like 7 or 8, when people asked me, what do you want to be when you grow up? I used to say, have you heard of this thing called Earth? Eria is not too far a stretch to rename it. And I think that obviously that does sound a lot worse now saying it as I'm 24 years old. Doesn't sound as good, but I think that that's what it is. Like, I would love to be the name that anyone and everyone that's planning an event thinks of. And I'd love
Hmm.
to get out of just events. I'd love to follow in Arnold's footsteps. LVMH is such a cool company. I think there's so many really impressive companies. And I think for me, I love building and I love business more generally. And so I would love to just continue to learn as much as I can, experience as much as I can, and continue to grow.
Yeah, that's great. Now, I want to make sure I understood what you said. Did you say Arnold's company? Who are
Arnold,
you
so
talking?
LVMH. Arnold is from LVMH.
I don't know. I don't know what that is.
LVMH is the fund. They own Sephora. They own a lot of these larger companies, but
Mhm.
they're very diversified. Sort of like Johnson & Johnson, very diversified, but LVMH is more in the luxury space. Sorry, I listen to so many business podcasts because I'm so obsessed with it. Sometimes I will just talk about them like they're my buddies. I'll be like, Elon, or, and I'll think of like the most obscure people. It's sorry, my bad.
Yeah, not you're bad at all. I love it. I love it. So, but you want to stay in the hospitality space, it sounds like.
I want to start by concentrating in the hospitality space because it really does tickle my brain. And I love that every day I get to wake up and be like, what crazy thing can I do today? Like, who wants me to put a jacuzzi on the water, right? Who wants me to do something fun? And then I think that eventually, like I said, so I would love to offer an opinion on glassware. I would love to develop a clothing line. Like, I'd love to be able to be known as the gold standard and say that, if Eria does it, it's great. And it's a certain quality. Eria is the last 4 of my last name. It's my signature. It's my way of saying that, this is something I'm proud of. And so I'd love to continue to just build things that I'm proud of and see as much of the world as I can while I do it and
Yeah,
try
that's
and
really great. I love this. The Aria standard. That's
the Eria standard.
yeah. That just means top notch. That's just top notch stuff,
I
right?
love that. Do you think the Earth thing is possible to do the renaming? Can you put in a good word there?
Well, I think give you another couple decades, and
So
yes,
you're not
I have no
married to
doubt.
it. So if
I
we
am
held a
not.
vote later on, you might not vote with us to change the name.
Oh, I'm open to it. Yeah, I think that's the old name has been around for too long, don't you think?
I think so.
It's
I
time
think
for
it's
it's
kind of
time
fun.
for a refresh.
Yeah, maybe we could do like a gold lining around it too, right? Just to match the coloring. Do you think? No, I'm just kidding. But
Yeah, yeah. Well,
it's always
is the
funny.
plan to have more venues in the Bay Area, or are you just happy with what you got for right
No,
now?
the goal is to definitely continue to grow the venues. When we plan, we've definitely noticed it's a lot easier for us to plan in our locations
Yeah.
because we have the ability to not be limited by the constraints of someone else's property. And so our goal would definitely to be to have every type of iconic location that we can. So I'd love to get I'd love to get a winery in Napa. I'd love to get, a rooftop bar. I'd love to continue to acquire different locations so that anytime we plan for someone, we can use one of our spaces.
And how many people what's been your maximum size so far for an
The
event?
biggest event we've done, we did a 7,000 person conference. That's our biggest till date.
That's a big number, isn't it? It's a big number. All right. Final question for you. This has been a lot of fun. Do you get any balance in your life? Are you exercising? Are you taking vacations? I can't imagine the answer is yes to either of those because you seem so busy. But yeah, and obviously you're young and healthy.
I do exercise a lot. I'm a big believer in like walking while taking emails. And I think that I'm really lucky that obviously open source and artificial intelligence came up as I was starting to get busier. So there's definitely a world where you will see me like walk, like every morning I will either walk or run for like an hour and I will just brain dump into AI and I'll be like, these are the messages I want to send, draft them and email them for me. These are things that I need to make sure I add to my to-do list, so add it to my notes sheet, and it's fully integrated for me. And so it's like my most productive hour where I just dump everything in my brain. It's fresh ideas. And then all through the day, I do tend to move around a lot. I mean, yeah, it's a very mobile job. So I'm very lucky that I get to really get that exercise in because I'm not the kind of, like, if I have too much energy, I will be cranky and it won't be very good for anyone.
It would be hard for me to see Nikita chained to a desk somewhere in a 9-to-5 job. Having just gotten to know you a little bit in this conversation. Well, listen, thank you so much for being on the podcast. It's been an absolute pleasure meeting you.
Thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate your time.
That's it. Thanks for listening to Flanigan's EcoLogic. We'll see you next time.